Thank you, Pav. Good afternoon, everybody. Firstly, the Suid-Afrikaanse Onderwysersunie. Also, it takes pleasure to welcome our colleague from other countries in South Africa and more specifically in Cape Town for this 6th World Congress. We look forward to sharing our hospitality and our country with every delegate. We truly believe that the theme for the Congress, building the future through quality education, is particularly apt as it is becoming increasingly clear that the problems experienced by education in the various countries are universal. It is imperative that the organized teaching profession must seek to address such problems with collective wisdom. That is our conviction. The SAOU represents more than 30,000 teachers and is one of 3 national teacher unions operating in South Africa. Although our membership predominantly comprises Afrikaans-speaking teachers, we represent all languages and racial groups in South Africa and therefore regard ourselves as representative. The roots of the SAOU stretch back as far as 1892, and during the past century we have played a significant role in ensuring the establishment of quality education and the professional organized teaching profession. We look forward to cooperating with our South African colleagues as well as our international colleagues in addressing the challenges that confront education. We are convinced that the time has arrived for the professional organized teaching profession to exhibit transformative leadership by addressing the universal problems that education is confronted with. The recognition of the principle of diversity is important, and in this regard we are honored to be associated with EI and its affiliated unions that show maturity, tolerance and respect for different cultures and diversity. As stated, the problems experienced in one country is not necessarily limited to such a country, and increasingly we find that various countries, if not all, have to find mature and accommodating solutions to addressing it. In this regard, we believe that this 6th Congress of EI will grapple with the following. Education budgets have on an international scale become easy targets for drastic cuts as a result of the continuing economic crisis. Teachers understand the necessity for austerity measures, but also believe that ultimately only the outputs of a quality education system will ensure long-term viability and the ability of a country to successfully compete in the global market. The remuneration packages of teachers is a universal problem, and we find that in virtually all countries the remuneration is not comparable with our other professions with similar periods of tertiary education. The career pathing of teachers need to be approached innovatively and fresh. In many countries, including South Africa, there is a push to base the assessment of the performance of teachers on the academic results of students in terms of standardized tests and school performance. In the process, education authorities do not contextualize the relevant socio-economic circumstances. The present international economic climate intensifies the necessity that countries must be able to deal with the complexities of green economies and the threats of climate change. Present generations are clearly not sensitive enough with regard to these challenges, and therefore education will need to take the lead and educate and sensitize the younger generation with an awareness for climate changes and the consequences. The eventual approach of the children of today will undoubtedly impact on the future. Teachers and the interpretation of their present responsibilities for the actions of future generations cannot be ignored. The problems experienced by migrant teachers are virtually universal. It is a phenomenon that is experienced in the majority of countries. It poses seriously complex problems to the organized teaching profession, as on the one hand, unions have a responsibility to protect the employment security of their members, and on the other hand, the exploitation of migrant teachers cannot be tolerated. How to balance these competing challenges is not easy. In virtually all countries, there is a dire shortage of support staff as well as administrative staff. These shortages impact negatively on the working life of teachers as well as the quality of education. University teachers are less than comfortable with their growing administrative burdens. From various EI reports, it can be deduced that the level of in-service training provided by the respective education authorities is inadequate. In this regard, unions have no other option but to shoulder an increased responsibility without any additional funding. And lastly, the organized teaching profession has a very heavy responsibility to not shy away from the burden of transformative leadership. If necessary, we must light the lamps for the footpaths of the government and ensure that they remain true to their moral and principled compasses. Against the above background, it is clear that the problems confronting education and the profession globally are truly daunting. The organized teaching profession has never shied away from accepting its leadership role, and we are certain that during this 6th Congress, EI will find the necessary collective wisdom to identify the appropriate solutions and/or processes.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jopie.